Um, Everybody that's only got a few people. I may mute the people that are. Make sure we have good. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Randy,
Yes.
I'm just going to introduce you right quick. Hey, everybody. I think most of you know Randy, the guy that brought me on board 37 years ago when we were both young pups. Back, for those of you who don't know, Randy and his wife, Marcy, and Ron and I went to school together, and we were great friends at our alma mater. And I found out how good Randy was doing in this business after a year or so, and I thought, well, if he can do good, man, what could a smart guy like me do? And so, anyway, I the guy that brought me on board was a good friend of mine that I've known all my life, and he was an accountant like me, and he knew Randy, and Randy brought him on board, and he got me involved. And I'll tell you guys something funny. I lived about 150 miles away from where Randy's office was, and he told the guy that he knew me from school and everything. He said, Don, there's millions of people here in Dallas. Why do you want to drive 150 miles away to a little small town where I'm from in Central Texas? And Don says, well, I want to get Kim Carver involved. And Randy says, okay, good luck. That's 150 miles, And anyway, that's how I got involved. And anyway, the guy that brought me on board is now my accountant, and he's Randy's accountant too. And anyway, but I always tell that story just to let people know that you never know what can happen from just meeting somebody from a cup of coffee or sharing the opportunity. Ron and I were newlyweds. Randy and Marcy had just been married a year or so when they got in the business. But I think most everybody's heard Randy's story. But I asked Randy and I've been talking about some things, and I asked him just to talk about some of the things he and I talked about, just to kind of help us stay focused on building it the right way, growing the business the right way. Randy, I got some great people in the room here. Some of them are brand new. And so I'm just going to shut up. Okay. Ah. It's all yours, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, listen, first of all, it's always just a great privilege to be able to teach and train about this business that Kim and I have been involved in for many, many years. Kim, Marcy and I are actually celebrating our 39th year in the business. I applied for my license in Dallas, Texas in November of 1979. And so it really is an amazing thing, the thought that it's been 39 years for me, almost probably 37, 38 years coming up for you and Rhonda. And the thing that it continues to amaze me, everyone, is that we have been involved basically in the same business with the same functions of leadership. That they haven't changed. The name has changed some, but really the functions of our work hadn't changed. And it's been 39 years for me, and I love it just as much today as I did when I first got started. Matter of fact, I will tell you that I love it more because I'm able to enjoy now all the things that we have worked for so long. I'm now able to enjoy to a degree that I never thought that would be possible if we had done anything else with our lives. Kim and Rhonda are just celebrating a brand new grandbaby. We're just celebrating a brand new grandbaby. Matter of fact, she's over here upstairs as I speak, a week and a half old, and she's number 9 for us. And it's just what's so incredible is that we made a choice by God's grace to do this. And if Kim and I were involved in any other business arena, we're in our early 60s, we'd have a few more years before we'd probably be forced to retire. We'd probably have, given ourselves to whoever it was or whatever company we'd work for, and we would have been doing something. We would have been an executive of something, I'm sure. And we'd be looking at a few more years from here, and we'd have been all over, done. And we probably wouldn't have had the freedom to spend time with our kids, and especially our grandkids, as we do today. And now we don't even think that way. Matter of fact, I'm challenging a lot of our fourth quarter teammates here to, as we approach our fourth quarter of our lives, is to really finish stronger than we've ever been before. And in a time of your life where most people are shutting it down and selling things and downsizing, with us, our business continues to go on and on and on. There's no reason for us to even think in terms of at age 65 it all stops. As a matter of fact, I will tell you this, there's going to be many people in this company already experiencing that 65 for them is just the beginning of the fun. That's when it all gets fun. And we've created a business that has this passive income stream that continues to come, that we own, legally for our families, and that continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger the older we get. That's not how life works in general, but that's how life works in Primerica. So many of you young people, I see these incredibly young faces in there in the audience, and I'm so glad to see that, by the way. The last thing we need is a bunch of old gray-haired farts like me and Carver, we don't need any more of us, okay? And so we need a bunch of young, excited tigers who want to go out there and duplicate what we've been able to duplicate over the years. And so that's our mission. That's our goal, is to try to train y'all up to experience what we've been able to experience and continue to experience this time in my life, which moves me to our topic at hand. So I was telling Kim about 4 weeks ago now, we brought a small group of people. We had about 40 people. We brought up to Highlands, North Carolina, where Art and Angela Williams have a nice little inn there called the Old Edwards Inn. It's a Relais and Chateau place, one of the top, luxury inns and spas in the country right now. And it's only about 2 hours away from us. So we went up there, spent some time with Art, and he just was so frustrated. He just can't believe that we're not growing. If you listen to Art Williams, who founded the company, why we're just not growing like they did in the 80s, like we did in the 80s, And a lot of that's just because he's not coaching us anymore. So, it's just kind of a thing he's got. But the other thing is he just doesn't understand why we're not multiplying like we should be and like we had done in the past. And he went through the power of the multiples again, and I started thinking about that, and I wrote down something right in the middle of that meeting, Kim, and I said, to get the multiples going, you must build with multipliers. And all of a sudden, my brain just started reeling, and Art started talking about target market and how to get the multiples going. And so I got that, and I wrote down my little thing about it. In order to get the multiples going, you must work with multipliers, okay? And then the next day I get home, and my upline, Mike Tuttle, who probably only calls me maybe 2 or 3 times a year, maybe, he gives me a call, and he's trying to build a base shop there in East Texas at his ranch. And he goes, Randy, I'm so frustrated. And of course, I love hearing, okay, good. Tuttle's frustrated, and I feel a little bit better. But he said, I'm so frustrated because my guys are taking me on these appointments with these people that they want to bring on board. And I'm looking at them, and I'm just thinking, there's no way they got a shot at doing this. They're not taking me to the market. And I started looking at all of my first generation hierarchies that I override. And he said, Randy, the thing that still blows my mind is the quality of the people that you brought on board early in your career still blows my mind. And you built it quickly, but you built it with really strong leaders, and they were all in the right market. And he started asking me questions. And so this is 39 years ago, and I'm trying to remember. And so he said, what about this guy? What about this person? What about this? I'm thinking, well, yeah, this is what they were young. They weren't married yet. I mean, didn't have any kids yet, just got married, first home. And I started going down all this list that he was asking me about, and it just hit me, go, man, I mean, that's right, because it didn't seem like it was so tough for me. And the reason why is because I was fortunate enough. It was just totally, not because I really tried. It's just that my natural market back then were these natural multipliers. People like Kim and Rhonda Carver. And we're going to talk more about this in just a minute. And once you get the multipliers in the business, then the multiples take off. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that's what we had. And so I just got finished going through all that with Tuttle, and he goes, Randy, you got to do a conference call for my people. I want them to focus on the target market so we can get the multiples going. I said, okay. So I'm working on my little talk, and it's what I'm going to give you today. And then the next day, right after that, I get an email from Bill Arender, and I'm on his email list, so probably hundreds of people got the same email. And it's all about target market, how to get the multiples going using the target market. And I'm thinking, what is the deal? I mean, it seems like all these leaders are focusing in on the one singular topic all at the same time, which means everybody's kind of frustrated on why we're not seeing the multiples growing like we used to. The good news in this is that there's a solution to this, that there's a reason for it. It's not just ad hoc, it's just the culture or whatever. No, it's our focus. Our focus has changed a little bit, and it made a big difference. How many people feel like sometimes you've been in the business for a while and you feel like you're just on one big treadmill? In other words, you feel like you're running really fast, but you're going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And how many people feel like they've been out there prospecting and going on appointments and have really recruited maybe a good group of people, you think, but yet nothing's happened. They're not taking you on appointments. They're not, multiplying. They're not getting their promotions. And you are frustrated because you think that this is the way the business is. And then you get so frustrated, then you think, well, my goodness, if this is going to be the way it is for the next 5-10 years, I don't know how long I can stay on this treadmill going nowhere really fast. And it's a frustrating thing, but I'm just telling you right now, gang, if you really would adhere to some of the things we're going to be teaching you today, you can move from being being frustrated to really experience some real exhilaration when it comes to watching the multiples. Okay, so let's talk about how to build a multiplying business. How many people have heard the power of three? The power of three. What does that mean? That means if you just could find 3 people who then get what? 3 people, then you have these 9 people on board. Now, if you can get those 9 people to get what? 3 people, the power of 3, that's 27. If those 27 get 3 each, then that's 81. If these 81 get 3 each, that's 243 people. And if they go out and get 3 each, that's 729 people. Man, you'd be an SNSD making $1 million a year, right? And that sounds so good on paper. It looks so great on paper, doesn't it? Matter of fact, it's so easy for me to say out of my lips. Just 3 to get 3. To get 3, to get 3, to get 3, and it's all over, right? So we all go out there and say, man, I just got to find my 3, right? Well, let me just tell you something. It's not about you just getting 3. It's you finding 3 who will get 3. Is that right?
Right.
That takes a lot of work, doesn't it? Because you know that not everybody you bring on board is going to go get 3 people immediately. Is that right?
Right.
The good news, though, is that if you're willing to work consistently to find 3 people who will get 3, then you can get this thing moving. And that's why it doesn't take a lot of multipliers. It takes a lot of prospecting and setting appointments and interviewing and bringing people on board to find the 3. But once you find the 3 multipliers who will start multiplying, this ball game's over. And so what we want to do then, don't we want to get more finely tuned focused to see what we can do to find the 3 faster than we're finding them right now?
Right.
3 to get the 3. In other words, the multiplier. So let's talk about that for a minute, because it does take multipliers to make the multiples work. Let me say that one more time. It takes multipliers to make the multiples work. So I want to talk to you about a very famous verse in the New Testament that a lot of discipleship ministries use over the years, that they talk about a lot, and it's a perfect example of getting multiples going. And of course, they're talking about the multiplication of the gospel here. And they always refer to 2 Timothy 2:2. And 2 Timothy 2:2 is basically the Apostle Paul teaching Timothy, his disciple, his follower, on what he needs to do to really continue the work that Paul has entrusted to him. So this is what Paul tells Timothy. He says, the things that you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust them to, listen to me, reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others. So let me break that down for you just for a second, okay? First of all, Paul is telling Timothy, his trainer, his trainee, if you would, okay? He's field trained Timothy, and he said, Timothy, the things you heard me say in the presence of how many witnesses? How many? Many, many witnesses. In other words, you have heard me say this over and over and over again to many, many, many people. I want you to take these things that you have heard me say, and I want you to entrust them to who? Listen to me, reliable people. Now, if you entrust these to reliable people, then they will also be qualified to what? Teach others. So the goal was to entrust what Paul has taught to reliable people. And it's these reliable people that will then cause the multiplication of the gospel to happen, okay? Now, so you have Paul duplicating himself through Timothy, who is to duplicate himself through reliable people who will then what? Teach others. The reliable people that will teach others is where multiplication happens, right? And to this day, 2,000 plus years later, we are talking about Paul teaching Timothy. Why? Because the multiplication from these reliable people went on and on and on and on and on till 2018 and more. And you and I are talking about it today. Amazing, right? Now, so let's apply that principle to what we're doing right here. So let's talk about who are the reliable people. In other words, who are the multipliers in Primerica? Well, here's who they would be, okay? The combination of two characteristics. First of all, let's talk about the external qualities that I want you to focus on, that I want you to target out there, our target market. What are they? Well, they're married typically, they have children, they're homeowners, they're 25 to 45 and employed. Let me say that one more time. These are the external qualities of our target market: married, kids, homeowners, 25, 45, employed. Now, we will tell you, Kim will teach you that if you can make a list of 25 people minimum that are 3 to 5 pointers. In other words, these are people that out of those 5 points, those external qualities that I just talked to you about, married, kids, homeowners, 25, 45, employed, if you can find a list of 25 people who meet at least 3 to 5 of those qualities, right? 3 to 5 pointers, you have an incredible shot of finding multipliers for your business, okay? Now you go, well, Randy, but I know a lot of really great people out there. They got a great heart, and he's 18. He's trying to find his way in life. Right now he's living with mom and dad, but he needs this. He needs it, okay? He might need it, but this is not the game for him right now, okay? It's not that he's not a good person. He's probably just an incredible person. But here's what you need to understand. You need to understand the game that you're playing in. You need to understand the game that you're trying to recruit and field a team with, okay? And I'm just telling you, if you're coaching and someone is paying you a lot of money to coach and win with a championship basketball team, and you choose to recruit a bunch of 5'5" kids, and your charge and your goal is to win a championship team, are you going to be a highly frustrated basketball coach?
Yes.
Will all the fans that are relying on you be highly frustrated with you? Not only will you be frustrated, not only the fans will be frustrated, but the 5'5" kids that you're coaching that try to win a basketball game, they will be what? Highly frustrated. Now, if you were trying to coach a soccer team maybe that plan would work. But it won't work if you're trying to field a championship basketball team. Am I right?
Right.
Nothing against 5'5" people.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay? Nothing against them. It's just that you're trying to get them to play and win in the wrong game. That's all. Okay? And so if I'm trying to win put together a winning basketball team, I go 6'5", not 5'5". Is that right? Okay? And at least I'll have a better shot at it. Would you agree? Yeah. Now, you'll always find there was a guy, a pro player here, matter of fact, two of them over the years, over the last 30 some odd years, in Atlanta, Georgia, that played with the Atlanta Hawks. One was a guy named Calvin Murphy. Another guy was a guy named Nate Archibald. Nate Archibald was 5'7". Calvin Murphy was 5'5", and they both played in the NBA. As a matter of fact, Nate Archibald, they called him Tiny Archibald, he actually one year won the slam dunk contest at the All-Star NBA game. Right? Now, did that mean that all of the NBA coaches decided immediately to go and try to recruit a bunch of 5'7" players? No. Tiny Archibald was 1 in a million. You understand that? One, he was a freak, okay? You never, ever want to build a team based on exceptions to the rule. You want to build with team on the rule, right? And we always think that the next guy who doesn't meet any of our criteria, he's going to be the next Tiny Archibald. He's going to be the next, great single guy that we had that came on board that did some great things, Not going to happen. If you're going to find the multipliers, you got to stay with the rules, stay in the game, okay? And let the exceptions bust through your door and wave their hand and say, I'm going to do it regardless. And you're almost saying, no, don't do it, No, I got to do it. No, I don't want you to. No, I got to do it. In other words, they're hungry. So let's do something real quick. So we got the external qualities. But now it's not just the external qualities, because I don't know about you, but I know a bunch of, married kid homeowners, 25, 45, that not ever going to do this, right? Yeah. So then there's some internal qualities that need to happen. And once you can combine the external qualities with the internal qualities and they intersect each other, that's when you find the reliable people. That's when you find the ones that have the most chance to become your multipliers. So who would those be? Well, there's a lot of ways to measure this. This is my little list that I've lived by for 39 years. They're people, number one, who are cause-oriented. They're driven by a cause. Number two, they have a strong desire to be in business for themselves. That doesn't mean they've had the experience of it. That just means they've had the desire, always desire to be there. They're coachable. They have great credibility with people they know, and they are hungry and competitive. So let's go down there again. They're cause-oriented. They're cause-driven, driven by a cause. They have desire to be their own boss. They're coachable. They have credibility, and they're hungry to compete. Hungry to compete. Okay, hungry to win. The most important quality of all those internal qualities is hunger. Hunger overrides everything else. Hunger overcomes everything else, okay? If you have a deep hunger, and just because somebody's broke and lives in the basement of their parents' house does not mean that they're hungry. That might mean that they're just lazy and they don't want to do anything in their lives, right? But you might say, well, that guy needs it. He might not think he does. So we're looking for people who are hungry. So if you can combine the external qualities with the internal qualities and they intersect, that's when you have the most chance of finding the multipliers, or as Paul likes to say it, the qualified people, or the people who are the ones that are reliable to go multiply. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So let's talk about this for a minute. Let me tell you a little bit of my story, which just as I look back was just kind of crazy when I think about it, okay? Most people say that when you come in the business that you shouldn't really rely on family and friends, that they typically will, frustrate you and you won't get a lot with them. Well, it's hard for me to say amen to that. And the reason why is because that's exactly who I built it with. I built it with family and friends. I didn't build it with people I didn't know. I built it with family and friends. Now, did they all do well? Yes, some did, some didn't, okay? But they all bought in to what I discovered. And most of them, the reason why they bought into it wasn't because they, quote, thought I was a total genius, and broke the mold and I got to follow Randy Godfrey. No, quite to the contrary. I had zero experience of success to show them. Zero. What I did, though, is I let them know that I had discovered something and I sold my commitment to it. In other words, I am committed. They're giving me a shot at opening up an office as a regional vice president. And these regional vice presidents are making 6 figures a year. And I'm in a special dynamic training program to do just that. I don't know if it's for you or not, but I can get you an interview. I can get you an appointment. You need to check this out because if it's something for you, they're looking for more people. That's how I did it. I just let them know. It might be for you, it might not, but this is what I'm doing. I sold my commitment to the task. And then I let them know that there's other openings if they want to find out about it. And I introduced them to my trainer. And then we started recruiting people like crazy. And they didn't want, I firmly believe that the reason why they did this is they didn't want me to be the only one that was going to do it. They didn't want me to be the only one that was going to have this kind of opportunity. They wanted in too, okay? But I didn't have any success at it at the time, but yet I recruited my family and friends. And here's the people in my, quote, base shop that I had my first 15 months in the business before I went to RVP. We were doing over 100 sales a month as a future RVP, okay? And a lot of people go, that's just crazy. Well, it's not when you look at the people I had. And let me just tell you what their qualities were too, okay? So my very first recruit was a guy named Steve Riddell. Steve was my cousin. Steve went to Abilene Christian University with me. He was my cousin. We grew up together, okay? He was there in Dallas, Texas. He was the first guy I went to, and he said, I'm on. So he was my cousin, went to Abilene Christian with me, and he just got married, just moved into a very first starter home there in Dallas. No kids yet, okay? He came on board. Another guy, Steve Luger. Steve Luger, he was in my social club at Abilene Christian, okay? Good friends, moved to Dallas, just got married, just moved to his first home. No kids yet. Another guy by the name of Ova Johansson. Ova Johansson actually called me from Amarillo, Texas. He found out what I was doing and said, and Ova grew up in Sweden, born and raised in Sweden, went to Abilene Christian. He was the field goal kicker there, still holds to this day the world's record longest field goal ever kicked in organized football at 69 yards. Still nobody's ever. He went from Abilene Christian to the NFL, very frustrated, couldn't make it in the NFL, was looking for something else. He called me because somebody he knew said, you got to call Godfrey. He's killing it with something down in Dallas. He calls me. I knew him from Abilene Christian. Came on board, okay? Bruce Brownlee is my brother-in-law, still my brother-in-law, okay, after 40 years now, okay? Bruce was visiting in Dallas, Texas on vacation. I became a district manager in the company. I told him, Bruce, you got to do this. We can take this to Hawaii. He had a business in Hawaii. He lived in Hawaii, okay? We can do this in Hawaii. I didn't know we could do it in Hawaii. Matter of fact, we found out later we could not do it in Hawaii because A.L. Williams back then was not licensed in the state of Hawaii. So Bruce Brownlee had to actually get licensed on behalf of A.L. Williams so that we could start recruiting it. And he was one of my recruits. He's my brother-in-law, okay? Didn't go to Abilene Christian, but he's my brother-in-law. Don Harris went to Abilene Christian. Don Harris Okay, I went to him. He was going crazy about this, right? Don Harris then went to who? Kim Carver, right? Okay, that's how I found Kim Carver. And then Randy Norman. I went to church with Randy Norman. His wife, Jan, went to Abilene Christian. And we met there in our Sunday school class. We went out water skiing one day. And by the time we were done, he's on board, right? Don Harris, married, no kids. Randy Norman, married, no kids. Bruce Brownlee, brand new, married, no kids yet. Steve Luger, married, no kids yet. Interesting, right? Okay. Then a guy named, and then Ovid Johansson went off and recruited a guy named Monty Tuttle. Monty Tuttle and I are good friends from Abilene Christian, young, married, no kids yet. Okay. And then I went out and recruited another guy named Mike Barnes, who I went to Abilene Christian with. Mike recruited his brother, Rick Barnes. And Mike was married, no kids. Then I recruited someone else named Virginia Damron. I met her in my executive search business, so I already knew her. And I said, Virginia, forget trying to find a job. You ought to do this. She came on board, eventually became my replacement. Bob Reel came on board too. And those are 10 people I just said. Virginia was the only one that had been married for a long time. She was in her early 40s that had kids. Bob Reel was single. He was the only single person out of that whole list. And so I want you to know that out of that group right there, those multipliers started happening and started finding other multipliers. Now, why did it happen so fast and furious? Mainly by God's grace, but we just, what happened is Don Harris went to Kim Carver. Why? Because Don Harris and Kim Carver were friends. They were just like each other, right? They started recruiting like-minded people in the right market in the time in their life, right? Kim Carver went out there and did the same thing, okay? All my guys, they had markets just like my market, okay? And they went out and started finding multipliers. Steve Luger went out and recruited his cousin, Craig Morgan, okay, who by the way overrides Dennis Viant, who overrides Mark Yazapovic. It's just Craig Morgan has $3 million earners in his hierarchy. Craig was Steve Luger's cousin, and so I look at all this. I go, man, Kim. We were basically. There's a marketing term for this little movement here. It's called DINKs. You know what DINKs are? Double income, no kids. Double income, no kids. In other words, all of us, brand new married, both husband and wife were working, didn't have any kids yet, wanted to have kids soon, but right now we're both working, making money, saving enough money to buy our down payment, buy our new home. We didn't have any furniture to move in the home, but we had a home, and so we were flexible. Life hadn't locked us in yet. And so I was able to quit my job, which was a joke because I wasn't making any money anyway. Marcy was the one paying the bills. But Kim was able to quit his job. He had his own, just launched out and had his own accounting practice. Don Harris was able to quit his job. Steve Luger was able to quit his job. Randy Norman was able to quit his job. Ovid Johansson was able to quit his job. Monty Tuttle was able to quit. Why? Because all of our wives were funding us. That's why. They were all funding us with their jobs while we were getting this thing built, right? And our whole goal was to retire our wives so they could have kids one day. So is that the way it's going to be for everybody? No, but that's the way it was for me. And the multiplication happened like crazy. So what's the point of this? The point of this is that you understand our target market, and we've got to focus to find the multipliers as fast as we can with laser beam focus. Now listen, can we do that today? That's the big question. Can that be done? And I got to tell you something. I really do. Kim and I have had hours of conversation about this, about how the demographics of this country has changed dramatically since we first came into business. And the demographics have changed dramatically since we've come into business. As a matter of fact, the business itself, the demographics of Primerica have changed dramatically since we've come into business. I believe from a total absolutely positive in most circumstances, okay? Because I believe that you look at Primerica, it's a direct, it slices right through the way the United States of America looks like today. So I think that's nothing but a positive. Diversification, nothing but a positive. But there's some demographics about lifestyle that has changed a lot. And what is that? Well, we tell you to go out there and recruit 25 to 40. Most people aren't getting married until they're in their 30s now. Most people aren't even starting to have kids until they're in their 30s now. Most people hang out with mom and dad about 3 to 5 years after they graduate from college, trying to get their feet on the ground. That wasn't even like Kim and I, that wasn't even in our brain. It was like you get out of college, you get a job, mom and dad, we did our job. All done. We're out of here. Yeah. Good luck, right, Kim? Good luck, right? Us baby boomers, I don't know what we did, but we messed up real bad. We didn't do good luck. Come on, you can come back. And there's some good and bad to that, okay? I'm just telling you, that's probably long range, not healthy. And so with all that said, though, here's the demographics. This was Bill Arrender's email. This blew me away. And here you go. 1980, the average age of men to get married in 1980, 25 years old, average age. Average age of a woman, 22. This was 1980, okay? In 2015, so that's 35 years later, right? The average age of when a man gets married, you ready? 30. The average age of when a woman gets married, 27. So basically, it's 5 years down the road now, right? Okay, and those are averages, right? Those are averages. So some might be earlier, some might get later, okay? Now listen to this. Here's the percent of people who are 18 or older that were married in 1980. 58% of all people who were 18 years old or older, 58% were married. Wow. Today, same group, only 51% are married. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. Most of them not good, by the way. But there's a lot of reasons why people are waiting to do that. Because the thought of, quote, living together in 1980 was another thing that was unheard of. That wasn't like, you don't do that. But now it's almost a part of the game plan, right? And actually, this is just, it is what it is. There's some people, and then that even want to just go ahead and have some children before they commit to get married. Okay. It's just really it's just different. Okay. Now we can have a great discussion on if it's good or bad, but that's not my point today. That it is what it is. Okay. So as people who are in business and we put our marketing mind on, these are important stats and demographics for us to pay attention to. Would you agree? Okay. Now, so here's the deal then. Here's the positive thing. Here's the thing that got me real happy. In 1980, there were 50 million couples who were married in the United States. In 2015, 61 million that are married today. So that's 11 million more couples that are married today than there were in 1980. Okay, now, the percents might have changed on us, but the volume didn't, right? There's 11 million more married people. So that means our recruiting pool of recruits are larger. In other words, because there's more people, that means that we could find the multipliers faster, and there's more of them than there were in 1980. Now, let's apply something else here to this. To have a $30,000 base shop, that means that if you're an RVP and you have a $30,000 base shop in premium, that means you're making about $250,000 a year. How many people would love to make $250,000 of renewable passive override income? Raise your hand. Bonuses, all that kind of stuff, right? $250,000 a year. 20 grand a month coming into you whether you like it or not. Would that be fun? Yeah. That would be fun. I don't remember what that was like. That was a long, long time ago for me, but if I can remember, that seemed fun to me. I was in my 20s, and I remember when that happened. It seemed like it was a fun thing for me. Now, So you need to have a $30,000 base shop. What gets you a $30,000 base shop? In order to have a $30,000 base shop, you need to have at least 90 recruits, 90 licensed people on your team. Got that? So the formula is how fast can you find 90 licensed people? Is that right? If you have 90 licenses, you got a $30,000 number at the base shop. Here's the shocking truth of what's going on today. Are you ready? Only 5% of single recruits in Primerica today go on to get licensed. I'll say that one more time. Only 5% of single recruits are getting licensed in Primerica today. 5. You ready for this? 35% of married recruits get a license. Let me help you with the math. That is a 600% increase in licensing efficiency. 600% difference, okay? And so let me just help you with something else. So if you just decided, I'm just going to build this with single people. Why? Well, I'm single, and I know a bunch of single ones, and sooner or later I'm going to find my multipliers because we can get them recruited like crazy. And by the way, I can win my contest because I don't care, really if they're in the target market. As long as I can get my IBAs in, IBAs, I get my recruit numbers in, I might be able to win a contest for the company, right? That's what okay? It's up to us to manage and execute that, by the way. The company should throw at all the contests, all the bonuses at us possible. It's our job to effectively train and teach our people how to get there the best way. Okay. Well, if you decided to build an organization based on single people, you would based on that ratio of 5%, you would have to recruit 1,800 people to find 90 of them that'll get a license.
All right.
1,800, okay? If you decided to recruit all married people instead, then you'd have to recruit 258 recruits to find the 90. All right. 258 versus 1,800. If you were trying to get a $30,000 base shop going, which course would you choose? Right? But Randy, I recruited some married people that were duds. Oh, I know. How many single people have you recruited that were duds? Right? The bottom line is, what I'm saying to you is that you're operating, if you want to recruit single people, and I got a formula for that too, by the way, so I don't want all the single people to get up and leave the room on me right now because there's hope, okay? But if I were building a business, wouldn't you want to go on a 35% success ratio versus a 5?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just very clear to me. This is not rocket science here. It's marketing is what it is, okay? And we got to get great at it. And so we choose how we're going to get there. So here's what I've done. Kim said, Randy, I've noticed that your Atlanta organization, they've really dipped in the last 60 to 90 days. I said, well, that's because we moved into a brand new training center, and I got to know everybody, and I realized that we were operating at a very high level treadmill machine. And they were going really fast because they were working really hard like crazy, and they were getting a bunch of recruits in like you can't believe we're going nowhere really, really fast. And if somebody gets off the treadmill, you go, and we start losing people and chargebacks, stuff like that. So what I've had to do is encourage them to take 3 steps backwards so we can take 1,000 steps forward. And we're about to do that. And I think what you see, the numbers you're going to see in November, not only are going to be back to where we're used to, but they're going to be quality business. We're going to be multiplying. We're really going to build a foundation of multiplication. Make sense? Okay. Why? Because we got a lot of IBAs in, but we weren't really treating people like people. We were treating people like numbers so they can win a contest. And so we're diving into our target market. So what I've done is I said, listen, folks, I want you to pin your ears back and grow like you never have, but I want you to use 2 things as a filter. 2 things on a filter, okay? If you want to recruit single people, first of all, everybody has to get an FNA done. Run the mobile FNA, Kim, on everybody. And whatever that FNA says, you do it. So if you're recruiting single people who have no one depending on their income and you're selling them a term life insurance policy, that's dumb because they don't need it. What they need is a mutual fund PAC contribution. Is that right? That's what they need, okay? So we need to be, so as you're recruiting single people, you give them what the FNA says they need to get to their financial independence number. A lot of them might need legal protection too with us, okay? But you give them what they need. Therefore, they are a client, they're adhering to the FNA, and you don't have to worry about when that recruit quits, then they drop their policy because you have put them on what they really need from a financial standpoint, okay? Then the other filter is their target market list that has been personally inspected by the regional vice president. In this case would be who? Mr. Carver, okay? And so Kim wants to meet every new recruit, every potential new recruit, and look at their target market and coach them up on what they need to do to get their first promotion and to get their license and to get their fast start bonus. Kim needs to have that opportunity to meet every single new recruit that you bring on board. Now, so if you bring on board a single person, right, we already know that the odds are saying that only 5% of them are going to get a license, right? So if I was Kim Carver and you brought me and you brought Kim a single person, the first thing I would do, I would be more concerned for that person than you or my base shop recruiting numbers. My concern is that human being that you put in my office. I want to make sure that they got a shot at winning with me. How about y'all?
Yeah. Right.
So then what the first thing I'm going to do is challenge it. How hungry are they? I'm going to let them know that we're in the financial services game. So the people that we're able to help are people who are married, kids, homeowners, 25, 45, and employed, okay? So I would let them know that's the game that I'm recruiting you in. And because of that, single people really hardly ever make it with us. And I used to challenge people all the time, did I scare you away with that? Or did that make you more determined? I would always ask that. And if they said that just makes me more determined, then I'm going to pay attention to that person. But if they said, well, that sounds right to me. Yeah, maybe I need to think about it. Then we didn't have to process the IBA. We didn't have to go through the frustration of trying to get their market, hoping that they would be the guy and making this a miserable business. Matter of fact, you will feel so good when you filtered that person out before you got the IBA in. And by the way, they would feel so good about Primerica too, because they know we're professionals, okay? Now, but if they could give you a target market, and if Kim Carver can get them thinking about people they know that are in our target market, because Kim's going to be the coach, he's trying to field a winning team, and so he wants to see if this guy has a shot or not, okay? So he needs to have an FNA done, and everybody needs to have their own FNA. Why? Because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And the FNA is a picture of our business. And you don't need to go around showing all your numbers to people, but you need to show to every prospective recruit that this is your FNA and it has your financial independence number on it. It tells you exactly how much a month you need to invest in order to get there. And then it tells you how to free up the money to invest it, right? And if they're married, most of the time we free up dead dollars by explaining them about expensive life insurance policies and getting them out of debt. And so that's where we could free up the dollars. If they're single, the only way we're going to free up dollars for them is to show them how to make more money and get a license with us, okay? So if you use those two things as filters, then pin your ears back and recruit like crazy. But I'm just telling you, there's 11 million more married people in this country than there were when Kim and I got started. And so we just need to be intentional on those people, okay? 3 to 5 pointers. There's a lot of single moms out there. The key is single what? Moms. That means that they have people depending on their income, okay? So that's a 3 to 5 pointer. Those are 3 to 5 pointers we're talking about here. But I'm just telling you, if you'll get laser beam focused and if you will know how to develop a quality market list, and you get them excited about developing a quality market list, their top 25 people, and if they understood that the quality of that market is directly connected to how much income they're going to make with us, then they're going to spend time. Matter of fact, if you could let them know that if they could find just 3 to 5 multipliers in this quality market of 3 to 5 pointers of 25 people, and if they could know that those 3 to 5 reliable people, those 3 to 5 multipliers can lead them to a 6-figure income for the rest of their lives, how much time would they spend on the market list?
More.
I'm just telling you, they would spend time on that, okay? They would not introduce you to a bunch of strangers that they don't really care about to experiment on, right? And so I'm just telling you, folks, we get laser beam focus on this. We get serious about recruiting in our target market, Kim, and then and only then will we start experiencing multiplication. Because if we get multiplication going, this business is exhilarating. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you. But the only way we're going to get multiplication going, Kim, is we must find the multipliers. Okay. You want to know why I have 9 grandchildren? I have 3 children that have multiplied. And we're praying that they're not through yet, okay? But they are multipliers, okay? But I only got 3 of them. And so far they've given me 9, right? And so that's how this business works. You need to recruit multipliers. In order to do that, you need to stay in our target market. And if you have the external qualities intersecting with the internal qualities, you're going to have a great business, Kim. Hope that helps. And I hope everybody has an incredible, incredible Thanksgiving. I hope that you experience and pray for a great spirit of gratitude in your life, no matter what's going on in your life right now. Your life is 10 times better than most of the people in this world. Mm-hmm. And always have a sense of gratitude no matter what your current circumstances are, because you're a lot better off than 90% of the people on this planet are. Okay? Kim, anything else, my friend?
I just want to thank you, Randy. We got a big room full of people here, and we're all smiling, and we all want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, Marcy. And I'm just so grateful for your friendship and your role model. And I recorded this, so I'll be able to send you a copy in case there's somebody who wants to see it. So thank you so much for just pouring out your story. And we're just thankful. We're looking forward to finishing the year with lots of momentum. We're going to bring a ton of people to Atlanta in June.
Love it.
We got Bill Arender coming to do our kickoff event on multiplying and growing and building leaders in January.
Woo!
We're gonna do some big things. And Ron and I are 63, but you're right, we're not done yet. We still think we can pop out a whole bunch of new vice presidents, and we're on the right path. I got John and Lisa are married, man. They're in the multiplying stage right now. They're going like crazy. He's here in the room. He's smiling big time. And anyway, got some people here you don't even know yet that are brand new that I think you're going to be very, very proud of what's going to happen here. So
awesome.
Got some people plugging in around the country listening to you too. So thank you. We'll let you go.
God bless. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, John, anything you want to add to close us out?